Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Health by Heather Hirsch. I'm really excited to have you today because I'm going to get into a little bit about what got me interested in menopause and midlife, and I want to take this opportunity to break down a really exciting article I had published in the Journal of General Internal Medicine entitled Facing Provider Misconceptions Around the Use of Hormone Therapy in 2020. So I'm gonna break that all down for you guys today. I wanna thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching and liking and subscribing to my channel. Please do so if you like this content. It lets me know that you do, and then I can make time in my schedule to make more videos for you, as well as filming is really hard when you have two young kids at home and a dog. And by the way, it is hot in here because we do not have any air conditioning. So I also want to let you know, if you don't already listen to my podcast, it's Women's Health by Heather Hirsch. You can find it on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, anywhere you get your podcasts. And I always link it down below in the description box under YouTube. So check it out, like and subscribe, because I do a lot of different type of content there. Also, you can find me on Twitter at HeatherHirschMD. You can also find me on Instagram. I'm at hormone.health.doc, and I put a bunch of stuff up there and ask you guys what kind of video and content you want, so we can be a nice community over there. So before we get into today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about why I became so interested in menopause and midlife. In fact, I have a wonderful quote from a patient who oftentimes I would ask my patients to write me their journey or write me their transformations, and if it was applicable or if they would allow, I often use these type of patient journeys / testimonials often when I'm teaching. I use them in presentations, etc., if my patients allowed it. One of my favorites, if I can find it, I'll pull it up here, was a patient who said, I was expecting to see a Eleanor Roosevelt-like physician, but instead I saw a rather young, bubbly, and at the time very pregnant doctor. So that was me, and that was probably in 2017. And yes, I have two small children, and I have a busy, crazy mom life. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a physician, I'm an activist, I'm so many things, but I really do particularly love menopause and midlife. So let me tell you a little bit about my journey and how I got there. So I always wanted to take care of women from as far back as I can remember. And when I was in college, I actually double majored in biology and women's studies. And it was a really, really great time, and also allowed me to use that creative part of my brain to learn sociology and to do creative writing and writing in general, while I was also developing that kind of classic right side of my brain, that sort of science and math and physics. I hated physics. And so it was a really nice mixture, and I always knew that I wanted to take care of women. So I went to medical school very much interested in obstetrics and gynecology, and I actually did a year of obstetrics and gynecology residency. It turns out that probably my greater skills in talking, which clearly, and I much preferred sitting and talking with my patients and having long-winded, detailed conversations with them. So I was probably much more apt to be an internist. After some self-reflection and a lot of things in my life, I changed residency paths and I switched into internal medicine. I became board certified in internal medicine and really enjoyed the chronic disease management aspect and taking care of people for the long term. But I think what was unique about my track, and I didn't plan it this way, was that it really allowed me to see how much one's reproductive and obstetrical health factored into their long-term chronic disease management. And I think that's where that GYN, OBGYN piece and that internal medicine piece came really nicely together, as it turned out. So after I finished my internal medicine residency, I then went on to complete advanced fellowship training in Cleveland at the Cleveland Clinic in women's health. And I came in very interested in reproductive health and contraception, but I came out very very passionate about menopause and midlife. And that's because while I was doing my training with Dr. Holly Thacker, who is the clinical program director there and menopause extraordinaire, I saw patients from across the country come to see her, come to the Cleveland Clinic because they either didn't understand what their symptoms were and what was wrong with them. They didn't understand their lab work. They were taking dangerous compounded medications, or their doctors simply wouldn't give them hormone therapy. It was outlandish, and I really realized the biggest gap in women's health care is in menopause and midlife, and I could no longer sit back idly watching, because my deep research and investigation into menopause and midlife has showed me how many harms and how many harms have happened, how many bad outcomes have happened to women because of the misconceptions around menopause and because of the misconceptions and biases around the use of hormone replacement therapy. So all of that led me up to this cumulative experience of really having a deep passion for caring for women in menopause and midlife. And you can tell because I also have turned my passion and my career into my hobby, and I do my podcast and my YouTube in my extra time because I love to educate lay women as well as trainees, which includes medical students, residents, and other providers. And I not only mean clinicians, but also other healthcare, allied healthcare workers, such as physical therapists, such as psychologists, social workers, you name it. There is so much involved in taking care of women in menopause and midlife. And it's such a wonderful and satisfying career. And if you've ever seen me in the clinic, you know that I'm very passionate about that. So I had the opportunity to write a perspective piece, and a perspective piece is actually something that's peer reviewed. So when I submitted this perspective piece, that means colleagues in the medical field reviewed it and checked my sources and found that it was important enough to be published. So this perspective piece landed in the Journal of General Internal Medicine, which is a really highly acclaimed journal that many internists read. And I was hoping to reach internal medicine physicians as well as actually the broad spectrum, OBGYN physicians, psychologists, psychiatrists, you name it, anyone can read that article. Now, the problem is it's not open access. Open access means that my institution pays a pretty big fee so that anyone can click PDF and download it. So instead, you have to be associated with an institution, typically like an academic institution, to have access to some of those journal articles, including mine. So I wanted to summarize the three main points in that article, and not to plagiarize myself, I will put the link down below if you want to read the article in its entirety. So, as I've been thinking about menopause and midlife for the past several years, and really on a mission to help deconstruct a lot of the myths around menopause, I came to see there was three big buckets where I think the misconceptions and the biases start, and to each of those buckets a call to action, or what I think, especially right now in 2020, as perhaps a solution or the beginning of a dialogue for a solution. Now, I want to start with point number one. I'm just going to pull up, okay. I am using my phone. I posted on this on Instagram, so you can also check it out there. Point number one, society is bombarded with information on menopause that is inconsistent, inaccurate, and or harmful all of the time. There is so much misinformation about menopause, and it comes from all directions. I see this in various chat rooms. I see it from providers, right? Both ends of the spectrum. People who you'd expect to know the answers often don't have the most up-to-date or evidence-based information on menopause and hormone therapy, and lay women who maybe wouldn't expect to have the most up-to-date information, but they're giving information to other women, and everything in between, what we see in the media, what we see on TV, and etc. It really perpetuates many of the dangers that occur to women because of these misconceptions. The biggest and the most prominent is that hormone therapy is dangerous. And I have a whole separate videos on and in a really nice podcast episode on the safety and efficacy of hormone therapy, which I will link in the description box of this video that I highly suggest you listen to. That topic is really, really lengthy, and I explain it in over the course of 30 minutes. I'm also going to link right here the video that I did on the safety and efficacy of hormone therapy, which you can also watch. But that is one of the biggest myths, is that hormone therapy is just dangerous, or that taking it means you're a failure, or that taking it means you know, something is wrong with you, you know, that you're immediately going to have cancer or risks to your heart. And a lot of those are really untrue, or that's really an oversimplified response. Hormone therapy is particularly safe and effective for many, many women. It has lots of safety data. It's just that we have this idea, this deeply rooted idea, that estrogen is dangerous and harmful. And when I was walking around with that baby in my belly about 2 years ago, I had massive amounts of estrogen in my body, as do most premenopausal women and pregnant women. But we only think estrogen is dangerous if we give it in teeny weeny, inty beensy doses, but not dangerous when we have it physiologically, right? We don't go around taking out everyone's ovaries to protect them from estrogen. Estrogen has many benefits. We have estrogen for 50 years, maybe more, maybe less, depending on when your menopause is. So that's one of the biggest myths. But the second myth right after that is that non-FDA approved options or compounded therapy or pellet injections are safer. I'm also going to link right here the YouTube video I did on the dangers of pellet injections, which covers a lot of that. But really, the reason that un-FDA approved compounded therapies popped up is because many prescribers stopped prescribing hormone therapy in the early 2000s, and women were still demanding to be treated, demanding to be seen, and so a niche formed, an opportunity formed, where these wellness clinics could open up and offer compounded therapy, which they claim to be safer, but it is not. So I refer you to that. I'd love for you to watch that video on why pellet injections and non-FDA approved hormone therapy is unsafe. My call to action was this. All parties must attempt to present a clear, consistent, and evidence-based message around the safety of FDA-approved hormone therapy options. The risks to women when they need and could benefit from hormone therapy but are not given FDA-approved hormone therapy is astronomical. It affects chronic diseases, it affects relationships, it affects when people work and when they retire, and so many things. And these evidence-based principles need to be disseminated at meetings for doctors where they can really get these messages and to make them clear. And I also do think that people who are prescribing non-FDA approved hormone therapy prescriptions should be held accountable. And I know that could stir up a lot of controversy, but that is just my message. All right. Issue number 2. Most providers have inadequate training or retraining in caring for women experiencing menopausal symptoms. And this is a big reason. Provider miseducation, which could be clinicians or allied healthcare professionals, their inadequate training is a part of the system of training that needs to be revamped. It's really, really a huge part of a woman's life. If you go through menopause, if you reach the age of 50, most women are going to be menopausal, and every physician, clinician, and allied health care professional is going to experience a menopause-related complaint in their career. Unless you are a pediatrician, you're going to experience menopausal complaints, whether it's obvious, like it's hot flashes or night sweats, or it's not obvious, such as a lot of the symptoms I talk about in my menopause videos: fatigue, hair thinning, hair loss, symptoms that seem like they're hypothyroid, but they're not, can be menopause complaints. And without you being able to recognize and see that, you're going to miss so many women who could benefit from a consult, or who could benefit from some type of treatment, or just the recognition and awareness that what they're going through could be menopause. So my call to action was this: physicians need education, experience, and exposure through focused medical school and residency training programs. A big part of what I do is I get to educate medical students and residents when they come and rotate with me in my clinic. And the looks on their faces when I prescribe hormone therapy, the joy that they feel when that patient returns and has improved, whether it was hormone therapy or non-hormone therapy, whether it was just a conversation, an acknowledgement of their symptoms, and a physiology lecture on why they're experiencing some of the things that they are, my residents are just so astonished because it's oftentimes the first time they have seen that. Not always, but often. The earlier students can learn this, like in medical school, the better, but definitely for my internal medicine residents and my OBGYN residents who also don't get enough menopause education. Education is key, and we need to educate physicians at large-scale meetings like the American College of Physician meetings, the Society of General Internal Medicine meetings, not just the NAMS meetings, which is the North American Menopause Society meetings, which most of those attendees do know the evidence-based guidelines. Issue number 3 is menopause is socially charged. It affects the way menopause is experienced in the media, at the doctor's office, and everywhere in between. This is a big deal. It's a large reason why I have this platform. I want to put videos out for you. I want to have my podcast there for you. Menopause is socially and politically charged. It's a women's reproductive issue. Even though it's not the beginning of our reproductive life, it's the end of that reproductive cycle, but it is not the end of our lives. In fact, it is usually smack dab in the middle. Menopause is socially charged. My call to action was this: healthcare professionals, all of us, can partner with women to demand an improvement in care, including from their support networks, like their home, their employers, the media, and the medical profession's attitude surrounding midlife women's health issues. If I haven't made that point clear by doing this video, I don't know what else. But there is so much we can do to shift the way we think about women in menopause as a society. On my Instagram account, I partner with so many women who are so active in reshaping the way we think about menopause and midlife. Not as this awful thing, but as this really exciting transition where you can make the best of your health and really, really take life by the horns and steer it in the direction that you want to go. You can follow me over there on Instagram and follow a couple of my friends there to see what they're doing. But it's a time to take back and to live your best life. Obviously, I'm doing my part in trying to change and shape social media and medical professionals' attitudes towards women in midlife. Whew. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. I really, really, really want to connect with you. So let me know down below in the comment section what resonated with you or what you think that I left out, because I glean so much insight and so much of my motivation from this community, from my patients, and from the things that I read and see in life. So let me know. Don't forget to follow me over on Instagram. I'm at hormone.health.doc, on Twitter at Heather Hirsch MD, and check out my podcast, Women's Health by Heather Hirsch. Thank you guys so much. Please like and subscribe. Hit that bell button, wherever it might be. See ya. Bye now.